Welcome everybody to Behind the Title. My name is Janal Reid, for those of you that I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet. But I serve on the board of the Women in HVACR, and I am the chair for the Membership and Community Committee, which is what allows me to be the host for this season of Behind the Title. I also co-own and founded Serveway Heating and Air Conditioning. We're HVAC company in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and I am just so in love with HVAC. So I'm really excited to get to interview people in this capacity and get to learn their stories. Before we get started, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would love for this to be a conversation. So leave comments, questions for us, anything that I didn't ask that you would love to ask yourself. Please feel free to chime in on the conversation. We really love that.
Most people don't realize the air inside their home can be up to 5 times more polluted than the air outside. Dust, mold, bacteria and viruses, odors, VOCs, airborne contaminants, and traditional filtration only solves part of the problem. For years, indoor air quality technology stayed largely the same. Many manufacturers stopped innovating, but homeowners became more aware, and contractors needed better solutions. After helping build one of the most recognized names in UV air purification, HVAC industry veteran and engineer Ron Saunders is back with a new mission.
We're going to be offering hydroperoxide-based solutions, UVC light systems, ionizers, everything that you know in IAQ that's been offered over the last 15, 20 years. But a lot of manufacturers have stopped engineering and designing new products. There are a lot of great new components and technologies available, and we're going to be incorporating them in the Pro IAQ series.
Pro IAQ delivers whole home air purification solutions. Designed for today's homes and HVAC systems, from advanced UVC germicidal systems to hydrogen peroxide-based induct purification to technologies targeting odors and VOCs. Pro IAQ products help reduce biological contaminants, improve HVAC efficiency, and create healthier indoor environments.
When you call Pro IAQ, you're going to be speaking to the manufacturer. That's all we do 100% of the time.
Pro IAQ is bringing innovation back to indoor air quality. Built for contractors, engineered for healthier homes.
So let's hop into it. Behind the Title is here because we believe that the title does not define your journey. Your journey defines who you are. And so every leader has a story behind their success, their setbacks, their lessons, what shaped who they are today. And today, our topic is about hiring right the first time, building intentional systems, creating onboarding experiences that help people join the culture. And so I think we have the perfect person to speak to all of these things. Este is joining us. I'm super honored to welcome her to this podcast today. Este has spent nearly 20 years in the HVAC industry, and she's experienced everything in the trades that you could probably think of from multiple perspectives. She's a 3-time Crown Champion HVAC sales professional. She's held numerous leadership roles throughout her career, and she has spent the last 8 years with CertainPath, where she coaches and trains contractors like myself across North America. She graduated magna cum laude with a degree in psychology, and she's been training leaders for this past 8 years. She's a passionate person who loves seeing people grow, which I can definitely attest to that. And outside of her work, she's a proud mom of 3, as well as a grandmom, her little baby Gigi, and she's recently married her sweetheart. And I love seeing y'all as a couple on social media. It's really cute. So thanks for joining us today, Essie. I'm really excited about this conversation.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited that we get to do this together.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump right into your story because I think you have great perspective on all these different areas. You know, the Women in HVAC, we have a membership that goes across different segments of HVAC. And so I feel like you could speak to so many of those because of your journey through this process. So would you share a little bit about us? Talk to me about what it was like before you were coaching and building with culture teams and all of that.
Yeah, I got started in HVAC. I like to say I got started on accident in HVAC, and it's because I got brought into the industry through a temp agency. So I had no idea where I was going. I landed at an HVAC company and I thought, well, I'll be here for, 3 to 6 months. I was finishing up my college degree. I really didn't see it as being a long-term thing. But once I got into it and I really started seeing how the machine works, right? How there's so many different roles and responsibilities there, I thought there's a pathway here for me, and this could be something. So what started off as a temporary assignment has turned into almost a 20-year career for me so far, which I love being able to say that. I think it was fate that brought me to HVAC.
Wow. Tell me about that temp position. Were you a helper? Where did you get inserted that you felt like, okay, I can actually love this?
Yeah. So I thought the whole thing about starting at a professional office building was I need to be able to type really well, right? So I cheated my way through a typing test, looking at the keys the whole time, going, if I can just nail this and type, 100 words per minute, I'll get into a great business and be able to do something with it. Once I got there, I realized it's not about the typing skills at all. So they brought me in as an administrative assistant, and quickly I went into helping build and support processes, helping to organize and structure, helping to create bridges in gaps in communication, because I was working with the VP of operations at that point. And what they quickly realized was my strength wasn't in my ability to type quickly or to do paperwork. My strength was in people. So
Right.
they recognized that and said, hey, you're on the right bus, but we
Mm,
think we have you in the wrong seat.
mm,
We'd like to create a position for you. So they opened up and created a sales lead coordinator position for me where I could mix the administrative side with the people skills that I already had, and created this pathway for me to just start climbing that ladder from that bottom rung all the way up to the top.
wow. Okay. So they noticed your skills. They said, we need to get you in front of more people. And so you got into being in the sales position. Were you directly in the field as a saleswoman in HVAC, or were you leading a team? Were you helping with training? How did that start for you?
A little bit of everything. So when I started as the coordinator position, I was an assistant to the salespeople, and we had two phenomenal salespeople on our team. And the owner came to me after about a year of doing that, and he is still a great visionary. And he said, what do you want to do next? I want to
Mm,
see you succeed. And I had never been asked that question by a manager or let alone the owner of the company before. And he came to me and said, what do you want to do? And I said,
mhm.
well, I'd love to go into sales management. He said, okay, great. We've got training programs we can send you to. Let's start building that up so we can make you our first ever sales manager. So we were connected with CertainPath. It was called SGI, or Success Group International at the time. And so he started sending me back to all of these classes so I could learn as much as I possibly could to come back and attempt to lead a team that had never had a formal manager before. And so it evolved to where I was able to take over that department. And we got about 6 months into it, and my top performing salesperson had a heart attack. And thankfully, he was okay. But you can't really recover from a heart attack by climbing through attics and jumping up on rooftops and belly crawling under mobile homes. So the owner said, we need to find somebody and we need to do it quickly. So we opened up for interviews, and a bunch of people came in. And like, with a sales position, it's not about what you know currently, it's about how well you communicate, your personality. Are you able to connect with people? And we just weren't finding anybody. And the owner looks at me And then the salesperson that had had the heart attack was sitting in on these interviews too. So he knew who was replacing him. They both look at me and they go, "We think you should be the salesperson." And I said, "I think you're crazy. I don't want to crawl through attics. I don't want to be on rooftops." And they said, "Please just go try it. Get out there, do it for a couple weeks, see what you think." And that was it. I fell in love with being in the field. So I transitioned from management to field
Mm.
sales at that point.
Wow, wow. And then ended up being three-time crown champion in HVAC sales.
Yeah, I had some really good training. I got to
Yeah.
do a ton of ride-alongs, and the biggest, most eye-opening thing for me was riding with the install team, getting to see it from their vantage point and understanding the cause and effect of sales. Now I knew what I did affected them, and I had to make sure I was doing everything the right way so that way they could make their job even easier because their job is tough.
That's good. Wow. And that really leads into my next question, which is because you've held all these different positions, what did being in the field really teach you that shapes the way you coach business owners today?
It's all about people. We're in the people business. You could have replaced any product with the product that I was selling, right? I could have been selling insurance. I could have been selling toothpaste door to door. It doesn't matter. What matters is being able to connect with people, finding out what their needs and wants and desires are, and then finding a solution to a problem that they have through the products and services that you sell. That's the whole game. And it took me a while to figure that out, but once I realized, oh, I'm selling me and my service and my product, not a service and a product. They're buying from me because they like me. And so when I learned that the connection with the customer is stronger than anything else, that's what I started focusing on.
Ooh, wow, that is so good. The connection with the customer. Wow, I can totally resonate with that. I love hearing about your beginnings because I only know a little bit, and so to hear how you transitioned from management into sales and then into coaching. So if young Este could see you now, coaching, training, teaching, leading, influencing companies, all of that, what do you think she would be most surprised by?
I think for me, I think young me would probably be surprised that I didn't allow any ceilings to get in my way. That
Mm,
if I didn't quite see a pathway to opportunity where I was, I started looking around saying, what can I create for myself? Can I do this a different way that makes me stand out? Can I say this in a different way that gets some attention to what I'm trying to bring attention to? So I would be surprised that I pivoted in so many ways to kind of carve out the career that I wanted for myself.
really? Why do you say that? Do you think when you were younger, you weren't as bold or, willing to jump into new opportunities, or what makes you say that?
I think it's because I'm such a people pleaser that I
Oh,
was always doing for others so much in my life that when I finally started saying, okay, let's focus on me for a little while and make something for myself that I can be really proud of when I get to retirement age, I can look back and go, look at all the cool stuff that I did, look at where I started and look at where I ended up. I wanted that to be the legacy that I left for my daughter. I mean, especially for her, my son as well, of course, but for my daughter to show her women can do this. And especially in a male dominated industry like HVACR, to go, I could see the path, even if there was a lot of stuff kind of in the way. I saw the path that I wanted to take and I figured out how to move the obstacles out of my way.
yeah. I can see that. And, I was thinking about your psychology degree and how that plays into probably how you think about people, how you relate to people. Could you talk a little bit about how having that background helped to bring it all together with your love for people, culture, the way that you develop people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Psychology is probably the best thing I could have studied to transition into what I'm currently doing today. And in the beginning, I thought, well, I went to college and I got this expensive degree, and what am I doing with it now? I'm selling air conditioning. And not that you need a degree to sell air conditioning, but having the training and having the dialogue in classes and being able to understand somewhat. I mean, I would have needed tens of years more of school to really dive into the human mind and how it really works, but to understand triggers and to understand body language and to understand tone of voice and inflection and to understand human connection and to develop my own style. I think a lot of that came out of what I learned in college, and it has become very applicable in what I do. And now even more so in coaching and training,
Hmm.
it's psychology. It's just wrapped in a different package at this point.
Right, totally. And then as you are coaching people, one of the questions I had is what is something you usually see in people that they don't see in themselves yet?
Success. They don't see the
Mm.
success because I know everybody has this goal up here. And
Yeah,
sometimes I have to go, but look, we came from here to here. This is still success. We didn't go here. So
right.
let me show you this little thing and let's celebrate this together. And then we'll take the next step together and the next step. So showing people, even if you didn't go as far as you wanted to go, as long as you went, we're being successful. And so holding up that mirror for them, because most people are very self-critical.
Oh my
And
God.
to be able to go, I see you in a different way than you see you, let me show you what I see.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
and that's so good and so valuable in a coach. I remember having conversations with you about this that, because I think especially when you're running a business, all you see is the day to day. It's easier to see that stuff. Like you're saying, you're like your worst critic. And
Mhm.
I remember having those conversations with you about, I mean, I just don't know. Sometimes you have those throw in the towel moments. And yeah, I could see that that was always kind of your answer, like, oh no, you're doing so much better than you realize.
Mhm.
And pulling that gold out of people is definitely something that you do really well.
Thank you.
And yeah, when I think about walking into, you're going into other people's business, that's kind of what your job is. You're going and
Mhm.
you're looking at how does it operate? How can you help it be better? How can you pour into the leadership, the team? What's something that you quickly can feel about whether a culture is healthy or unhealthy? What are some clues when you start looking into a business?
I think a lot of it is first in the language that an owner is using when describing their own company.
That's
You
good.
know, when someone is using negative words like, hey, we're not there, or we have a lot of work to do, some people might think of that as, well, they're being reflective and they're being real with themselves. But I feel like if the
Mhm.
culture is good and you are fully investing yourself into growing that culture, I tend to hear people speak about it from a positive point of view first, and then maybe go to, well, and then here's some of the things we have to work on. So if they're
Mhm.
starting off with, this is how we're not doing well, and here's a few bright spots, to me, that means we probably have a culture issue somewhere where we're not celebrating the success, where we're not focusing on the powerful, the good, the strengths, where our focus is in the wrong area.
Wow. That's good. That's really good feedback. Because I don't know, I guess I would think it has to do with maybe that person's perspective, but because you see how it plays out, drawing that help, that conclusion, oh, here we are. This is the clue as
Yeah.
to what direction we're going based on the way the leadership is talking about their organization. And that does make so much sense.
Yeah, because it starts at the top. And if the leader is starting with the
Mhm.
bad, then the employees will focus on that first.
Yes, that makes sense. So, speaking of the employees, that's one of the things that we're talking about this month as an organization, thinking about hiring and the team and the
Mhm.
culture. And so, you have so much experience here in this topic. So, when I noticed this was a topic and I was talking to you, I was like, oh, this is going to be good. So, I'm also going to be taking notes. So the first question that I had on that theme is, in your experience, where do hiring decisions usually go wrong? Just to start it out.
When we don't have multiple people involved in the hiring process.
Yeah.
I may see something in someone that I'll immediately latch on to, like maybe we went to the same college. And so now I'm looking through a bias of, oh, I already like this person. We have the same alma mater. And so they may
Right.
say something that throws up some red flags that I'll brush to the side because, hey, we went to the same college. I'm going to give this person a shot. Someone else in the room could have probably picked up on those red flags a lot easier and went like, hey, we should probably talk about that thing that they said. So for me, step one, have multiple people involved in the process so you get multiple perspectives, but making sure that you're both asking the same types of questions and saying on the same types of subjects when you're meeting with them, whether it be where two people are in the interview at once or they're doing it separately.
Hmm. Okay, that's good. And then a red flag that you feel like is just a no-brainer. You never ignore this one red flag. Do you have one?
It's integrity. You can train someone on technical skills. You can work them
Hmm.
through to build their confidence in their people skills. You can help them with organization and time management and helping someone grow from being a young adult into a more seasoned adult. You cannot make them have more integrity. So if their character is not there, if you are feeling like, oh, I don't know if that's truthful, or I
Yeah.
absolutely wouldn't talk to a customer that way. Listen to your gut because those are the things you cannot change about people.
Oh, that's such a good one. It's been super helpful to do those integrity checks with references, to try to
Mhm.
just ask those specific questions. Has there ever been any, question of this person's integrity? I feel like those are super helpful and insightful. So that's a good one. It's
Uh,
like say you can't train somebody to undo those things, really.
yeah,
It's a
exactly.
hard thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
What about a green flag? What's your like, okay, immediately this person feels like they're worth investing in?
For me, I think it's someone who's hungry. If they want more. If I always think about it, when you're filling out a resume and there's, you transition from one job to the next, the reason for leaving question, that's so hard sometimes because there's always going to be some kind of legitimate reason, right? It could be timing, it could be opportunity, it could be structure. But
Hmm.
when someone gets into the nitty-gritty and tells you their real why they decided to leave from one job and go either pursue another one or to pursue the one that they're meeting with you about, because maybe they're still employed, it's why. What's pushing you to want something different? What are you hoping to achieve that you're not currently getting from your organization now? And
Hmm.
if they can tell you, in their own words what their future success looks like, this is someone that's got a pathway. This is someone that is hungry and wants to go farther. This is someone that's looking for that direction. And if you can grab someone, especially with, if they're newer to your industry, man, sky's the limit for them. So it's about how much can I give you and how much can you run with?
Right. Yeah. If they're saying they want more, they don't feel like they're being challenged. Yeah, I love that. They
Yeah.
want more. They're hungry.
Mhm.
And what about an interview question you think like everybody should be asking, but everybody doesn't necessarily ask?
Um, what do you like to do for fun? Get to know people as
Brian asks
people.
that every time. Brian's like, "What do you do for fun?" You
Yeah,
probably gave him that one.
I'm sure that one was his, and I think it's just so important that we have to think about this as not only the candidate, but this is a human being with personality and soul that's going to be in my organization, and are they going to match,
Right.
right? Not necessarily they have to be like everybody, but are they going to match the energy of my company?
Yeah, no, that's so good because culture, like we talked about before, is so important. And
Mhm.
to know that they will fit with the culture that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do oh, got it. You, you lose a couple points for that. And then once somebody's hired, what does a strong onboarding process look like? I think like a lot of people think they have strong onboarding, but maybe you have some ideas about, let's go beyond the right paperwork, the right passwords, go shadow somebody. Like what else should we be inserting into our onboarding process?
Onboarding shouldn't just be the first day, 3 days, or a week. It should be like the first 30 days of employment with somebody.
Yeah.
because that feeling that that employee gets from your organization in the first 30 days will make or break if they're going to be a long-time employee or not. Because
Mhm.
imagine walking into a new organization and maybe you don't get introduced to new people, so now you don't know anybody. Or even think about the smallest things like knowing where to go for breaks, knowing what's okay to bring in, and where to microwave your lunch, and just the little things that I think about. So yes, the first few days should be very intensive of get to know the team, get to know our processes, get to know our software, get to know, the hierarchy and the org chart, get to know who we are as a community. But then after that, it's making sure that they understand their role fully, that you're doing check-ins every single day. What went well today? What would you
Mhm.
like to focus on in the next week or so? Giving them more learning opportunities, riding along. And I always say this, we tend to send field people on ride-alongs with field people, but
Yeah.
they should be riding along with the office. The office should be riding along with the field. We should be able to sit in a chair next to someone and understand what they do for our organization. So now I know who to go to with that problem or where to get that answer from. And so I think it's more than just the first 3 days to a week. It's the first month of making them feel welcome, making sure that they understand who we are, what our mission, vision, and values are, and then
Mhm.
knowing that they understand their role fully and can help to create that personality of their own within that role.
Wow. Okay. That's good. I'm like making so many notes. Okay. So daily check-in,
Yeah.
then weekly goal setting and cross training.
Yeah.
They're like, those are key. I love
Yeah.
that. And then if somebody's struggling early on, right? We hired them and they're struggling. Like, how do you determine whether it's a hiring issue, a training issue, leadership issue? Where do you go from there?
First start with what they're doing day in and day out. If
Yeah.
it's the first couple of weeks in and they haven't been shown enough to fully operate within their role unsupervised and they're not quite sure what to do with themselves at this point, boredom might set in. So it may not be that they don't know how to, it's just that they don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
So making sure that they've got a full list of things that, are issues that we can tackle, solutions that we're waiting for, help them to help you. And now you have outsiders' perspective, which is awesome when you bring someone new into the organization. Run
Mhm.
through some of the things maybe with them that you've been struggling to find a solution to, and having someone new with a fresh set of eyes on your organization may be able to find something that you've been, kind of nose blind to. You smelled the same smell forever and now you don't smell
Right.
it. And so someone else walks in and goes, I smell it. Let me tell
Yeah.
you what I smell.
Oh gosh, no, that's so good. We hired a guy recently, and I'm like, he is that guy, but he's just outgoing in that way. And
Yeah.
I actually, to your point, I enjoy it. I love sitting and talking with him because he thinks proactively or problem solving, so he comes with, hey, this is what I was noticing. And then he has amazing solutions that we get to implement. So I totally agree with that. Those
Yeah.
fresh eyes are invaluable if you're open.
And that's the thing. You have to be open to it and you have to ask the right questions to get the right answers. Because if you just say, what do you think about my company? This is a new person. They're going to tell you what you want to hear.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is great. We love this. Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow, that's good. Okay, so earlier when you were talking, you were saying how you enjoy being that pioneer of a woman. And I know that you've spent years in the spaces where women are often the minority in the room. So how did you learn to lead with the confidence that you have without feeling like you needed to, morph into something else or someone else, but to bring your woman perspective?
I had a lot of support and a lot
Mm,
of people celebrated my successes along the way with me and for me. So in the very beginning at the first company I worked at, not only was the owner really supportive, but the general manager was really supportive. And he saw in me something that I maybe didn't even see in myself. And he helped to pull that extra confidence out in me. And then celebrated when I became a crown champion. And not only was I the first female to do it over the $2 million threshold, I was in the top 5 against several other men. And
Mhm.
when they're like, that's our girl right there, look at what she's doing against all of these guys, that was a big thing that was celebrated. And so having people like that in my corner really showed me that it's not unimaginable to go to that next level, that I could see myself doing it because they showed me who I was through their eyes.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And we know why organizations like the Women in HVACR needs to exist because of this. What do you believe women are bringing uniquely to organizations?
I think when I think about especially women in HVACR, I think of a sisterhood. These
Mm,
are other women who have faced similar challenges. And no offense to men, but you just don't understand what
right.
what we are going through. And having the support from other women who have been in the trenches, who have walked that path, getting to step into their shoes and kind of absorb not only the collective knowledge and data and all of the stuff that the women offer, but the compassion and the empathy.
Hmm.
I think being able to empathize with each other is probably the biggest thing that we can do to support each other. It's that, not that I'm saying I totally understand it, but I'm saying I get where you're coming from because I've been in a similar situation. And knowing that that exists, knowing that I can reach out and call someone or get on the Facebook page and Women in HVACR and go, I'm having this issue today and I'm not quite sure who to turn to. I'll probably get 50 responses
Right.
from other supportive women that go, we've got you.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think a lot of women really need encouragement in the spaces that they're in, which is why they come to the organization like ours, where they can find the mentorship and the camaraderie and other ladies that are doing the exact same thing and can cheer them on. Do you have anything that you would say you've noticed that women bring that is unique to a company?
Well, for me, I think it was a sense of community. I think women are great holders of community. I
Yeah.
think that we feel it in our hearts and souls. And I may not be speaking for every woman, but from what I've experienced, that's what it feels like. I feel like they understand when someone needs to be lifted up. They understand the importance of celebrating the success. They ask the right questions. They notice the little things. Someone seems off today. I wonder if something's going on in their life. Let me go ask. And I
Mhm.
feel like women bring that extra level of care
Mhm.
and comfort to a community.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think that's just, like you said, it's not every woman for sure. We're all not the same, but I think that is something that is special and unique. We bring a little more of that softness to
Yeah.
conversations, which is good, that empathy and
Yeah.
compassion. Yeah. When you're coaching leaders all around North America, like what is one piece of advice you feel like you're having to repeat yourself over and over, because leaders need to hear it everywhere?
Follow the process.
Ooh.
Don't deviate from the process. The process has been developed over decades and decades of research. And if you are in a program, whether it's ours, like at CertainPath, for best practices in your own individual business, or you're working for some of the big private equity companies in the world, or big corporations, there's a
Hmm.
process to everything. And it's when we start majorly deviating from that and going, it didn't really work out this time, I'm going to try it this way. And then if it works once, you go, forget that way, I'm going to do it my way from now on. That may work for a little while. I did the same thing in the sales world. When I was in the field, I found that I could take a couple of shortcuts in my sales presentation. So I did that. It was also
Hmm.
the middle of summer and the easiest time to sell air conditioning. And so I thought, hey, this works. I don't have to do those other things that I was always doing. And then I got into a major slump because I was not following the process. And the only thing that brought me out of that was going back to basics and doing it the way I should have been doing it to begin with. So
Wow.
follow the
Mhm.
process.
Follow the process. That's so good. We were just talking about this the other day in our team, what it looks like to be motivated versus having
Mhm.
discipline. And, motivation, it's like it's wavering, it comes and go. Like you're not always motivated to do the thing. But to your point, if you're disciplined and following
Yeah,
the structure that's there, usually will be more successful. And you don't have to be super motivated, but follow the process and you'll get results regardless.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. And what do you feel like most leaders, especially if they're good leaders, what do they have in common? What have you noticed?
They
Besides
pay
following the
attention.
process, of course.
They're very in tune and pay attention to their team.
Yeah.
Uh, they're I think it's a beautiful thing for absentee owners to be able to be absentee owners. I love that. But if you are going to be an absentee owner, put someone in your place that's going to be that involved person. So someone on a management or ownership level needs to be involved with their team. They need to understand what that day in and day out process looks like and feels like for them. They need
Mhm.
to understand that there might be some areas of the process that can be improved, and listening to the suggestions of the team when they say, hey, this isn't working, not going back to always going, well, that's how we've always done it. Maybe
Right.
going, okay, do we need a different process that we can all follow? What do we need to do to improve it? So I think it's
Mhm.
just being engaged and having an open ear and just truly listening to your team. I think that gets people really far in this industry.
Yes, that's good. Good reminder. Either you are in the one involved or you have someone that is as a manager,
Yeah,
but to always have your ear to the pulse is the
exactly.
saying, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, let's switch into some fun questions because, you said you're a nerd and I also am a nerd.
I,
And I love being an HVAC nerd and I love that about you too. So, what's something that you're currently learning that has nothing to do with HVAC, but you feel like it still helps to make you a better coach or leader?
yeah, right now I'm really focused on history. When I was in college, before I switched into psychology, I was a history major.
Mm.
And I took one psychology class, fell in love, and switched my whole major, but I still love history. And so, with the 250th anniversary of the United
Oh,
States
yeah.
being formed, I've been really diving into American history just to learn as much as I possibly can about where we started and how far we've come and what the future can look like. So, that's really interesting and exciting to me.
Yeah, that's cool. So how
Yeah.
are you doing it? I know there's like the My Growth app and there's actual encyclopedias. Like what's your form of learning right now? Do you have like a favorite avenue you're going to trace the story or are you just everywhere?
All different media types. So I'm reading books, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm watching YouTube videos, documentaries, interviews from now and from years and years and years past. Just trying to get as much of it as I can, just to get a better, fully formed picture. Because I'm first generation American and on my dad's side of the family. So it's just so cool to go. I'm the first generation in this family to be here and to be able to experience this fully as a natural born American. So it's so fun to learn about it and learn about where this country started.
Yeah, that's really cool. And you are a true nerd because learning from all these different, it's like fact checking that I love
Yes.
doing that too. That's how you get to deep dive. You need
Hmm.
multiple sources.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you said you're obsessed with fossil hunting,
Yes.
and I need to know what is fossil hunting?
So
What is that?
we have a lot of fossil sites here in North Texas. So
What? You mean like dinosaur?
yeah.
Like,
So if you go into the creeks down here, so you'll catch me on a weekend hanging out in a creek behind a park.
duh.
I bought waders. I haven't had to break them in yet because the water's been pretty low, but I bought some waders. I can get out into the creeks. And right now I'm collecting petrified wood, and I've got buckets full of these are like 100 million year old trees that are
Wow.
now in stone form because they've petrified. And I'm creating a mosaic canvas. My mom painted me backgrounds of trees, and I'm mosaicing petrified trees in place of the tree painting. And so I'm
Wow.
out there collecting as many fossils as I can. But yeah, you can get all kinds of teeth. Shark's teeth are in the creeks here in Texas.
Wow.
You could get ammonite fossils. So these are, little trilobites that were around 250 million years ago. It's so cool that this stuff is just
Wow.
in our backyard and we can just go grab it.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. When you
Yeah.
said that, I was like, I could Google it or I'll just wait for Estee to
I'm just
describe
going to show up
it.
at your house one day and be like, come on, girl, we're going to go find some fossils.
My mind is blown. How? Okay. So you have your eye trained to know what you're looking at then in some, like you have a book that's a reference guide or something.
So I got totally sucked into a YouTube channel where they were fossil hunters. And then I kept going, I bet you I could do that here. And then I just started jumping in creeks going, oh my gosh, there is stuff here. And so there are some local channels with some local hunters here that I follow to try to figure out where they're going so I can go find their little spots.
Wow, that's cool. Okay.
That's my super nerdy part for the day. Yes.
Love it, love it. That was well done. You win the award on that one. Well done. Well, thank you for this time, Essie. This has been really great conversation. I would love if you could leave us with a thought. When people hear your story, what do you want them to take away from it?
I want them to think about where they see themselves in 10, 15, 20 years. Not
Mhm.
so much the short game, but more of the long game. Because what you do right now will influence what happens 10, 15, 20 years ago or from now because of the connections that you'll make and the experience that you'll gain. So stop focusing on the short game and focus on the long game.
Mm. Wow, that's good. That's really good. So encouraging. Thank you again.
You're
This was a really
welcome.
great conversation. And we look forward to seeing you again here on Behind the Title because I feel like we scratched the surface with you and there's so much more that you could share. So thank you, thank you, thank you for your time in this busy summer. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on this episode of Behind the Title. We're really excited to get to talk about other women in our industry's journey, the great things that they're doing, how they got there, so we can learn from each other's stories. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day.
Thanks so much.